Let's make some green and purple meringues. I got this recipe from this really cute Beetlejuice Cookbook. I've never made meringues before, and I knew going into it that although this recipe looks really simple, things like this can be very temperamental. So I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I figured I would try it anyway. So the first thing that we're going to do is preheat the oven to 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you lay out 2 pieces of parchment paper on baking sheets, and we're going to do 5 egg whites into a bowl. I've actually never separated egg whites from the yolk before, but I've watched this method be done, and so I figured, you know what, why not? Let's just try it. It seemed to work okay. I feel like I might not have gotten all the whites, but I got most of them. So anyway, I went through and I did all 5 eggs. I did drop a little bit of yolk into the egg whites, and I thought I could easily get it out. It did not come out, it just kept spreading around. It's probably fine, right? Then you're going to take and add 1 tablespoon of vanilla and half a teaspoon of cream of tartar. Now, I had a debate with my friend the other day of whether you pronounce that cream of tartar or cream of tartar. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments which way you think it should be pronounced. Then we're going to just mix all of that up as we slowly add in our 1 cup of sugar. I was absolutely making a huge mess. I tried using this like immersion blender that has a whisk attachment to it, and it was going everywhere. And I was whisking, and it really just didn't look right. I did look back at the recipe and realized that you're supposed to whip the egg whites, vanilla, and cream of tartar into soft peaks slowly, and then you start to add in the sugar. And since it wasn't really turning into anything, I decided just to start over. I went a little bit more slowly this time doing my egg whites, and I didn't drop in any yolk this time, so that was good. I added in my vanilla, my cream of tartar, and I got back to whisking. I got my sugar ready, and then I whisked that up first. I was trying to figure out what soft peaks looked like, and I felt like I was whisking for a really long time, but it was definitely starting to turn into something, so that was exciting. This was definitely looking more right. And then I started to add in my sugar. At this point, you're supposed to start whisking it on a high speed until hard peaks form. It was definitely starting to look like what I thought it should look like, but it was still a little bit runny. Then you're supposed to put half into one bowl and half into another bowl, and then add your different food colorings. I was attempting to do a green and a purple, but it kind of turned into like a green and a purplish blue. It actually looks a lot more purple in the video than it did in person. And as I was mixing the food coloring in, I was feeling like it was still just a bit too runny. In the book, it says to whip for about 2 minutes. And I went way longer than 2 minutes, and I know that you can over whip it, so I was worried about doing that, but I decided to hand whisk a little bit longer to see if I could get it to fluff up just a little bit more. And then you lay out some saran wrap and you put each color side by side. As I was laying out the color, I definitely realized it was far too runny, but I was just gonna go with it. You know what? We've come this far. I had already wasted 5 eggs, so we're just gonna go with it and see what happened. And then you put that bag into a piping bag, and then you pipe out your little meringues. Again, it was definitely way too runny, but they actually weren't looking too bad. It was just making a mess. It was all oozing out of the top of the bag. I probably should have put only part of it in at a time. I really felt like I was just failing every step of this recipe. So I had to take it out of the bag and just kind of mix it together and then put it in a new piping bag. So it turned into, instead of being like a cute little swirl, it was more of like a little mush color. But I just piped it out onto the sheet as quickly as I could, and they really didn't look that bad. Then you're supposed to cook for 30 minutes, turn the pans around, cook for another 30 minutes. Then you turn off the oven, let the meringues sit in the oven for about an hour or until set. Here's our finished product. They definitely were a little bit not the cutest thing I've ever created. They were super flat. I know that they're supposed to be a lot fluffier than that. If you compare what mine look like versus what they look like in the book, it's very different. They were nice and soft on the inside, which was good. They were crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, kind of that marshmallowy texture. And they actually were pretty yummy. I ended up serving them at a party a couple days later, and all of them got eaten. They were a big hit. At first, people would look at them and be like, "What are these? I don't want to eat them." And then as soon as they would try them, they would realize how delicious they were. So I definitely want to give these another try and see if I can get them whipped right. I also realized that I have an actual mixing bowl that I should have done it in there because I was making a huge mess. Probably would have been able to whip them to the proper consistency. I don't know why I didn't think of that as I was doing it, but I will be trying this again. If you have any ideas of how I can get this right, please let me know in the comments, and keep an eye out for round 2 on these meringues. I'm gonna give this recipe a 5 out of 10, but flavor-wise, I would say a 9 out of 10. We're gonna try them again. We'll see you then.